Okay, a bit of a status update on the Tightener project. So the TQL language is evolving, so getting more features, and I now got gateways running, so I can actually control either a local or a remote InDesign or InDesign Server, for that matter, from a command line. So to briefly recap what I've been doing, so I've actually created infrastructure for automation. So multiple workstations and computers and programs can interact by means of a component called Tightener, which is an automation component, and essentially it allows active components, programs or scripts or whatever, to interact with one another and exchange information. So part of the project is a scripting language called TQL, and TQL looks very much like JavaScript, but it is not JavaScript, or it is not ExtendScript. So, but because the DOM that we will be accessing in the various applications, and InDesign is the first one that we're actually using, because those DOMs are the same in ExtendScript and in TQL, everything looks very, very similar, and you can mix and match InDesign and TQL. So a few interesting things. So I have a little script here called remote new doc, and an interesting TQL function is standard out. So standard out is a function that outputs a string on the console that launched the TQL script. So even if I run a TQL script on a remote machine, standard out will still output on whoever initiated that script and run it, so which makes it easier for debugging remote things. So that's an interesting function. The other thing is, like right now I have running a remote machine. So this is a Windows machine which is running InDesign. It's running InDesign with Tightener, the Tightener plugin. So InDesign is Tightener capable and can interact with other Tightener components. There is also a gateway component running. So this is just a simple Tightener gateway, which allows me to exchange information with other nodes on the network. So, and all of this will do is essentially receive and forward messages to InDesign. So that's sitting there. I also have my Macintosh, so first thing, remote machine with InDesign and a gateway running. So then I also have my local InDesign here, which is also Tightener enabled, so has a Tightener plugin installed, so it can interact with the other Tightener nodes. Then I have a gateway running on my local Mac here, so my local Mac will actually be able to interact with that Windows machine by means of that Tightener tightway. So those two will be interacting. So the gateways are currently written in Xojo just because I could. So I've embedded Tightener into a Xojo plugin, and so that means I can actually access Tightener and the Tightener infrastructure from Xojo programs. And one of the simple things that would be interesting to do was to develop the gateway. So the gateway is written in Xojo just to demonstrate how it could be done. Gateways could also be written in Node.js or PHP or Python or whatever suits your fancy. So now back to the script. So I have this script which essentially has a feedback function which will output to whatever runs that script. So then I'm here configuring who I'm going to talk to, and essentially I'm going to talk to a remote machine called Sandy. Sandy is that Windows machine here, sandy.rorohiko.com. So, and on that machine I'm going to talk to a node, a Tightener node called InDesign 17.0. And so this is actually formulating a URL to communicate with that node, and then we're going to create a little InDesign script. So everything here is TQL, and TQL has a new feature, the HEREDOC, which is something I copied over from PHP and Python and so on. So you can just say greater than, and then a string, and then once you duplicate that string, everything in between is just seen as a big long string. So I have InDesign script becomes a string, which is much easier than needing to use quoting and whatever to enter script. And so what this script does is just, it adds a document, takes the first spread, makes a text frame, puts some text in, moves the text frame a little bit, and returns the contents of the text frame as the result of the script. And then all I need to do is actually so this will happen in InDesign, in the remote InDesign, and this is actually happening here locally on my Mac. So on my Mac in TQL, I'm saying evaluate this InDesign script on the target being Sandy with InDesign, and then return the result. And then so that's fairly straightforward. So all I need to do is, like on my Mac here in a command line session, I can now say run script remote new doc TQL. So this thing, remote new doc TQL, and I run it, and we see here that Sandy created a new document, added in a text frame, and put in this is some text, and this is some text appeared as a return value. I can also do something like run script close remote close all docs, and that actually instructs the remote InDesign to close all the documents, and you can see the gateways have been scrolling a bit so as the messages flicked back and forth. So next thing I'll do is I'll just change this into an empty string. So if I change my remote host to be nothing, that means it's actually the local machine, and that means that this same script will now communicate with the InDesign that's running on this computer. So, and there is a copy of InDesign running here. So now essentially I'll just repeat the same command. And it failed for some reason. Oh, of course. No, I forgot to save. Yeah, okay. There it is. So it happens on this InDesign now. And the close all docs, of course, is still talking to the remote Sandy. So if I do the same thing in this script, and I can say run script remote close all docs. So now that affects this local InDesign. So, and this would also work for InDesign Server. So you just run through InDesign Server and so on. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. So my InDesign DOM integration is getting fairly complete. So I can actually use the DOM fairly extensively. So, and it's all starting to take shape. So that's about it for now.